friends, my name is Joey. Welcome to my channel. I am doing another project with Sam's Bead Box for this month. It was called Sassy 60s, and I'm going to be using the donut pendant, this gorgeous teardrop, some 20 gauge wire, and I had this in my stash, but I recently got it. Look at the color of this with this marigold donut pendant. I even thought about doing a contrast color, but that is such a good match and it's making me so happy. I'm going to work with that. And then I have the melon beads, the hematite spacers, these pink opal squares, and these little table cut turquoise beads, and that is all going to go into a necklace project. This is what that cord looks like. It's the 0.5 millimeter, so it goes through most beads. And as I said, I will link it in the description box. If you've gotten this box, you might want that because it's really, really perfect with everything. What's funny about this is that this box is so good. I actually was not making a necklace today. I was making a bracelet, and I'll just show you. This is everything that I pulled for the bracelet from the box, but the box is so good I can't stay on track. I'm like squirrel, it's just so good. And I said, okay, wait, before I do the bracelet, let me make this necklace. So I'm gonna start out creating my pendant. It's a little funky thing. I'm gonna take a pretty long piece. I just cut some off my wire of 20 gauge. Cut some off my spool of 20 gauge wire. I'm so excited. When I get a collection of beads like this, it's like, that's why I make jewelry, because it's just so pretty and so happy. So I need to wire wrap this into this donut, and that requires a really large loop and a really large head pin, which commercially you're not going to find that. So I'm going to come to the end and essentially create an oversized head pin for getting this drop attached to the donut. And I want it to be really neat and really pretty because it's going to be the focal on my necklace. So I'm just getting a little loop in the end of my wire, and I'm just going to push it against my finger in small increments and get a really pretty shaped spiral. I am going to hammer this. I just like the look of it. I love that artisan dented hand hammered look on wire, but you could leave the wire round if you prefer that look. So I'm just going to kind of look at the scale of everything, maybe one more turn. And now I'm going to, if I can keep this from hitting the camera, get a hold of my spiral and just direction that up. And then I will bring in my little bench block and do a little bit of hammering and texturing. When you hammer, you change the molecular structure of the wire. So my spiral is going to get a little misshapen, but that's okay. Sometimes I like the shape that the hammer creates, and sometimes I go back in with my pliers and tidy it up. And I think I'm just going to use my riveting hammer. And you don't want to hammer the part of your head pin, the upward part. But I'm just going to do a few taps. I'm sorry, I forgot to warn you. Lower your volume or fast forward if you don't want to hear the tapping. I like to do both sides. And I like the this side of the riveting hammer just to put like, it almost looks like diamond cutting. Adds a little sparkle. And I like to do both sides. Okay, that looks great. I love it. So I did spread out my spiral a little bit, but that's okay. And now I'm just going to put on this bead. I made a pair of earrings with these beads, and you know, I look at it and think, oh, do I want a bead cap? But this bead is so stunning. I don't do anything to it. I just love it just by itself. It just does all the design work for you. Okay, and I'm gonna need a really big loop to get through the thickness of this donut bead. So I'm gonna use my huge 3-step veil making pliers, and I am gonna use this, I don't know what the millimeter size is on these steps, but I'm gonna use this one right here. And so this is really a normal wire wrapped loop. I want my spiral to be parallel to my mat so that it's facing forward on the pendant. So I need my loop to be going perpendicular to my mat. And normally I would come right above the bead and make that bend, but this space on your pliers is the space that you will be laying your wire for your wraps. And for this scale, I want it bigger. So I'm going to come up a little bit like that so that I have space here to do more wraps. So it'll be the tip of my pliers and down to the top of the bead. That's how much space I will have for wrapping. And I just want to make this a little bit oversized all the way through. So I'm just going to do a 90-degree bend. It's a little awkward, I will not lie, because this thing is heavy and it's big, but I'm just going to do the same thing I would pretending this is my round nose pliers. Just put that in. I'm going to have to pull out of the camera because this has to go over this top barrel. Okay, I did it without hitting the camera. And I'm just going to do the same thing I would do for a wire wrapped loop. Just it's so big the wire wants to bounce off, but just rotate and get it around. Okay, so that looks pretty good, and I'm going to take that giant plier away, and I have way more here than I need. I just don't like to run short, so I'm going to come and remove, let's see, remove about that much. And now I'm going to slip this inside my donut without ruining the shape of my loop. Just slip it in and let it drop down. And now I just need to get a hold of it around the donut. So I was debating if I wanted to pull this down and make it more oval. That's a possibility. Kind of pull it in. I like to do a little hand sculpting when I'm doing a piece like this, but I do want it to dangle freely. Look at the side. That looks really good. And I'm just going to do a normal wire wrapped loop here, as normal as it can be for being so big. I'm sorry about my voice, you guys. I am still dealing with some residual effects of the illness. I'm just so sorry. I'm trying so hard to be back to normal, and this illness is just hanging on. So now you see why I left myself a little bit of extra space, because I wanted to do a really nice, pretty, extra long wrap here. Oh, that is gorgeous. Just gorgeous. Let's see, do I want to, sometimes with my extra, I'll do like another spiral, and I could do that, but I just love this bead. So I think I'm going to stop there. I think I'm going to just bring it around to the back. Just bring it around to the back. And so what I mean by back is when I add my necklace part on, this is going to be the front of my piece. So I'm going to trim what I'm going to deem is the back. So I'm just going to come right here and remove that and tuck this really well. It's a little hard to get in there with that donut hanging on. There we go. Oh, that is so pretty. And I'm just going to straighten everything up, tidy everything up. Okay, my beginning of my pendant is done, and I have taken a really long length of this Brazilian waxed cord because I don't ever know how much knotting I'm going to do until I start playing with my beads, and I don't want to have to add in. And if I have any left over, it just goes back in a little baggie, and then I can make earrings or a bracelet. I don't waste it, but I like to have plenty, and I do like long necklaces. If you've been here before, you know that I really like long necklaces. So I've folded it in half so that I have this loop side, and I'm going to go through the hole of this donut bead, maybe, and I'm going to leave enough of this loop, just leave enough that I can loop it back over the donut. So I don't need a lot of space, but I'm going to do an overhand knot right here, the first of many overhand knots in this project. Get my long length of wire of string through here. And I'm just going to tie it. It's a little slippery. And then I'm going to bring this loop and go over everything. I need to go over my dangle, over the donut, just slip it over everything and get it back up to the top. And I'm just going to gently pull. And so if this were thicker cord, you would see almost like a barrel knot, but it's only 0.5 millimeter, but it gives me a really pretty, try that knot if you have like a thicker cord, even like a paracord. If you have a larger hole on your piece, it gives you a really pretty like barrel knot at the top. Like I say, this is only 0.5 millimeter, so the beauty of that knot is not showing as well as it normally does, but that is the start. But I want to make this a little bit chunkier, so I'm going to bring in my knotting tweezer and do another overhand knot. And just to make this a little bit chunkier, I'm going to reach inside that loop and get on top of that first knot and just pull. And that's going to add a little thickness. Just push that down. Maybe one more. Just watching the scale of my piece, like the donut. The donut is, you know, pretty big and heavy, so I want my knots to kind of go along with that. So I love my knotting tweezer for the precision, because when I reach inside that loop, wherever the tip of that tweezer is, when I pull, that's where my knot will land. And then when I pull the tweezer out, that knot is right where I wanted it, not haphazard at all. Okay, so that's what I have so far, and I'm going to start out with this pink melon bead, and I'm going to get both strands through. So on Brazilian waxed cord, there is a light coating of wax. It's not sticky or anything, and a lot of times you can just pinch and twist and get it through the bead. This is a little bit of a bead puzzle, because the whole of each bead, like this one, is super easy. But sometimes I will stiffen the ends of this brand, at least, with like a little gel super glue, or you can even, it's polyester, so you can melt it to make a hard tip. But that's what I have so far, and I definitely want to get some gold in here. The 6 millimeter hematite spacers were just gorgeous, and you know what? I think I want one top and bottom too for my focal instead of just the top. So let me back that down and get one of these little disc spacers in here. Okay, I'm just going to bring that little stack down and straighten out my cords. Oh, that is so pretty. And I'm going to do another overhand knot right here. My long strands are caught on something on the edge of my table. So another overhand knot, and reach inside and grab a hold of my cords right where I want my knot and pull. And you know, like I said, as you go through your piece, if you feel like you need a bigger knot, you can easily do another knot right on top of that one. And for at least this part of the necklace, I am going to double up on it. So I'm going to grab right on top of that knot and pull, and so my next one lands right where I want it. And so you get that little bit of extra chunkiness. Whoops, get down there. So it's looking like that. And now I'm going to separate the strands and work my way up my necklace. Okay, I just made a design decision. Because this is 0.5 millimeter, and it does work well with the hole sizes in these beads, but I feel like I need 2 strands on each side, so I'm going to add in some thread. I'm just going to do another knot. I have to pull out of the camera for a second just to get the same length, and I'm going to add in some thread. And the reason is I'll have 2 strands going up each side of the necklace. Again, for the scale of the donut and the melon beads, I feel like it needs more. So just give me a second to make this cut. Okay, so I have the same length as what's left here, and I'm going to do just a couple of overhand knots, just some creative knotting to add this in. So I'm going to come right on top of that knot that I did and just do a couple of overhand knots to add it in, and then maybe another knot with all 4 cords together, and then I'll separate the strands and start creating my pattern for my body of my necklace. I love the color of this marigold so much with that donut bead that my plan is to let quite a bit of this cord show in my body of my necklace, or the part that goes around the head. So I've just like tied that on, and now I'm going to separate these into 2 strands, and maybe before I separate, do another big overhand knot right on the top, just to top off the pendant. Get all 4 of them through that overhand knot. And same thing, reach inside that loop, gather everything up in the tip of my tweezer. Just like that. That's where I want it. And pull. Oh, that's so pretty. And that makes me so much happier to have 2 strands on each side to build my body of my necklace. So much better. Okay. Now I can start adding in my beads. So I do know that my cord for like these table cut beads and the pink opal squares, I do know that it only goes in once, but I like that, especially when I love the color of my cording, because then I can let the cord hang out on the outside and it looks really pretty. So let's start with one of these on each side. I think I'm going to do both sides of this the same, but you can always do these random if you want to. But so here's what I mean, like only one strand is going to fit through that bead. So I'm going to let my cord hang out on the back side, and here I'm going to do an overhand knot again and reach inside that loop, and I'll get the cord that's hanging out on the outside of the bead as well as the one that's coming through the bead, grab them both together, and when I pull, then I have secured my bead on my cord. And when the necklace moves around, you know, I love seeing that gold color. I'm going to do the same thing on this side, and I think since I'm going to match the sides with whatever my pattern is, I think I'm going to go side to side because I do have a lot of length here. So same thing, repeat. Okay, I got a couple of them done. My cord is still pretty long. It's hanging over the edge of the table, but the knotting does eat up a lot of length of cord. And I'm just going to let the beads be random where the thread is on the outside, just as I go up the necklace. And so my plan is to have the heaviness down here. So I'm going to come to this side and do the same thing, bring both of these strands together and do a disc spacer and the fluted melon bead, just mirroring the 2 sides. And then as I work my way up the length of my piece, I'm going to start letting some of the cord show and not have the heaviness up around the neck and in the body of the necklace, if that makes sense. I'll show you what I mean, but I'm clustering the beads down near the bottom, and then I'm going to start letting some of my length of my cord show through a little bit more and lighten up the beads. So looks like that. Same thing again, overhand knot and reach inside the cord and get a hold right where I want the knot and pull. It's very repetitive. It's very relaxing. This is so easy and so easy to finish off a piece like this as far as length. I'll oftentimes with a necklace like this, I will not even do a clasp. I'll do a knot at the back of the neck with a decorative bead or something and just pop it over my head. But I don't know, haven't decided. When I get to my length, that's what I'm going to do. And I may even bring in another bead. I'm going to start kind of letting some of my cord show. So I'm just going to come right about here and leave that empty space. As I said, the color of this is so perfect that it's just so great to see it. And so I'm going to do the same thing, reach through my loop, and right where I place my tweezer is where I'm going to have a knot. So I'm going to do about that, and I'm going to pull. And so I'm going to do that up the length. Now I'm going to switch here to one of those little turquoise beads. I'm just going to alternate those colors, and I know that they only go on a single strand. But again, I love seeing the cord kind of snuggle on the outside of this little table cut bead. It's so pretty. Overhand knot. I also love the mixed media on this. The you know, gemstones, Czech glass, a little wire, a little cord. I mean, it doesn't get any more boho or really like the free spirit of the 60s. So see how pretty that is when the cord is showing. And so I'm going to come over here and do the same thing. First an overhand knot without a bead, and here's where you can really use your knotting tweezer, because you can reach inside and use your other side as a measurement. And that's about perfect. Pull up just a little bit and pull. And then before you commit by tightening down your knot, you can have a look. But I have to say here that I don't worry about a necklace like this being perfect. I think when you have all your beads on, I don't think that anybody sees those little, you know, a millimeter or so of difference here and there as you work up the length of a necklace. And you can do this as long or as short as you want. I really like long necklaces, so mine's probably going to end up being long. And the other thing that happens when you start doing this, at first you have all these, you know, inches of empty cord, and it feels like you're going to be working forever, but you get this wonderful rhythm and you start thinking. I'll sit here and look at the other beads in the dish and start designing another project in my head while I'm doing this, and before you know it, you've gone past where you wanted to be. And that happens to me when I'm making a bracelet. I'll start out with needing a 7-inch bracelet, and the next thing I know, I'm at 15 inches. It happens to me all the time. I think this is so relaxing, and just I just love making this type of jewelry. And the other thing I love about this is, for me, like, you could wear this with jeans and a t-shirt, but a bathing suit cover up, and, you know, have this kind of like resort wear, just to pop this over your neck if you're sitting by the pool, or, you know, if you go on a vacation. In my case, I have a little hot tub on my patio, and I bring my yoga mat out there, and I will hang out there by myself. Or sometimes I have a friend over, but I love to pop something like this over my swimsuit cover up and just, you know, hang out in it. It's so pretty. And so, like I said, here I'm going to just continue leaving a little bit of space. So I'm going to keep going, and I will spare you the boredom of watching me do this over and over again, and I'll come back and show you how I plan to finish this off. Okay, so this box is so good, I swear. I am like squirrel. I decided to pull in some of the little bicones that were in the box and separate the strands, and look at that beautiful effect that you get. And then I brought in some little tiny gold donut beads just to flank and add in a little daisy spacer. So I thought I'd show you how I did that. It's really the same thing. Like for the bicone beads, I just did my knot at the interval after the blank space, and then I just strung 3 on each strand, and then just bring them together, and it makes this really cool little kind of circle of texture in the necklace. And it's the same thing, an overhand knot, and then I'm going to reach in and grab my cord where at, you know, together with the with the bicone beads, just like that, and then pull, and it kind of makes a really tiny bead look like a little bit bigger bead. You know, it's like more the right scale for all the other beads in the box. And then let me just show you what I did, because 2 strands do not fit through those little daisy flowers. So I'll show you how I worked that out. Let me get my little spacing, just like that. And so on those, what I did is brought my 2 cords together and put them both through this little gold donut bead. It's amazing how sometimes the smaller bead has the bigger hole. It just amazes me when I'm doing the waxed cord what fits and what doesn't fit. But then I'm going to bring that down to my knot, but then I tried everything. I couldn't get 2 strands of this to go through the daisy spacer, but I do like the cord, so I like seeing it on the outside. So just put 1 cord through the little daisy bead and let one hang out, and do that same method again, where then I bring them back together and put my second little donut, little gold donut on, a little tiny rondelle, and so it's on both strands. And that's how that little section of the necklace worked out. So it looks like that with the cord hanging out on one side. And I'll just do another overhand knot and secure that little station. Just get a hold at the top, just like I've been doing, and pull. This is so fun, you guys, and so relaxing. I actually had a movie on. I put some laundry in the washing machine, and I am just like enjoying this process. So I'm going to get to my desired length, and I'll come back and show you what I decide. I still haven't decided if I want to pop this over my head or if I actually want to do a clasp on it. I like the little glue-in end caps. I like to tie a knot on this cord and glue in an end cap because I think it finishes off the textile look of this really nicely. But I haven't decided yet, so I'm going to keep going and see how I feel about everything. Next up is a pink square bead. They're so pretty, and this color palette is so pretty. And I was going to bring in some beads from my stash, like a Czech glass round or something, but this box is so good. When I decided I wanted more beads in it, there's plenty to choose from in these little turquoise bicones. I could not think. Oh my goodness, my brain is not working. These little turquoise pressed glass bicones are just perfect to add another element to my bead pattern. So the same thing, just reach inside, and I'm going to keep going. Okay, I am all done. I am in love with it. It's so casual and so boho chic. And so I did decide to pop this over my head and not do a clasp. So I've done kind of a faux clasp looking thing. I finished my stringing and I just tied a couple of overhand knots with all 4 strands and then separated them. And I strung 3 of those little bicone beads and made a little fringiness on each side. So I have this side to do. I already put the 3 beads on there, and I did an overhand knot here as well and did a double just so it would be chunky. And you can definitely put like some GS Hypo Cement, some beader's glue. Bead-A-Lon makes a really nice one if you want to. It's really not necessary. I do it sometimes. I think it just depends on how I'm feeling about the piece. But I just did a couple of knots on the end and just pull them really tight and bring my little bicone beads down. So I have this little beautiful fringiness at the back of the neck, and I'm just going to trim right there, and I take my knotting tweezer and separate the fibers so I have like a little bit of fringiness, and it's just like a faux clasp and very boho. And like I said, I could see this as resort wear. I could see this with like a long white bathing suit cover up, almost like the look of a maxi dress, and just pop this over your head. If you're sitting by the pool with friends, I do a pool party every year with my friends, and so I just love the way this turned out. That's so pretty at the back of the neck, and this is it's got a little bit of weight to it because of the donut bead, but it's not super heavy, and it's just absolutely the most fun necklace, and it was such an easy, joyful project. So I will put links in the description box to Sam's Bead Box. I am so impressed with it, and I still have a bracelet to make, and I think it's going to also be with the knotted cord, but I want to add in something and do a little something more dimensional on my bracelet. I hope my plan works out. So I thank you so much for watching. I hope everybody's safe and well and having fun on your beading mats. See you in the next video.